Ultra Mega Broken Brawlers often come out in Brawl Stars. Yes, we know this is nothing new. Most of the time, the brawlers are very strong, but sometimes there are brawlers that are so strong that it's impossible to lose with them. That even the person with the fewest brain cells on Earth could use them. And that no matter how badly you play, you would end up winning with these brawlers. So today we're gonna talk about this. We're gonna talk about all the brawlers that have completely changed the game throughout the history of Brawl Stars. They've torn it to pieces and have simply invaded match after match after match, making it unbearable to play against them since it's impossible to beat them. So yes, let's start with the very first one that came out in the entire history of the game. And yes, interestingly, it was the first brawler that was released in the game. This brawler was also Leon, who, although nowadays is a fairly decent and very good brawler. In the beginning, this brawler was one that completely broke Brawl Stars because he had one of the most overpowered mechanics in the entire game, and that was Invisibility, since his super lasted quite a long time. 10 seconds enough to reposition yourself better, or escape from the opponent. But something special about this brawler that made his super extremely overpowered was that it didn't matter if the opponent couldn't see you. Even if you walked right over them, they couldn't see you, they couldn't detect you. Even if they damaged you, you wouldn't appear, which gave you a huge advantage. And this adds to that the fact that when this brawler was released, he did a ton of damage with just one basic attack. This brawler was so broken that he got a total of 6 consecutive nerfs to make it at least somewhat fair to play against him. Otherwise, Leon would be one of the most broken brawlers in the game. But if we're going to keep talking about old brawlers that were broken, let's move on to the only special brawler that has ever been released in the entire history. And yes, this brawler definitely broke Brawl Stars. This brawler is Rosa, and honestly, she was a really strong brawler for her time. And let's remember that back when Rosa was released, there were no gadgets, and there weren't many brawlers who could push other brawlers back. On top of that, let's add that this brawler had a completely broken super, with a shield that gave 80% protection. Plus, her super lasted 6 freaking seconds, giving you enough time to charge up the next super, creating an endless cycle of supers. But of course, we also have to add that this brawler's first star power healed her for 300 health points every second. So just imagine, my god, playing against one was impossible, which is why there were a total of 7 consecutive nerfs to make it possible to kill this brawler. Our next brawler in this video is a brawler that's pretty well known by most people, and even today, they still think he's broken. That's right, we're talking about Edgar, a brawler who, when he was released, was one of the most controversial brawlers. Mainly because he crashed the servers, but also because he was considered really broken. And well, we could consider this a Mandela effect, because for this to happen for this brawler, they only had to make one balance change for him to become somewhat acceptable. But let me tell you that, back then, even though gadgets already existed, there weren't many gadgets that could push brawlers back. So add to that, the fact that his main counters like Shelly, Primo, Bull weren't having their best time in Brawl Stars. So Edgar's main counters basically didn't exist. Edgar was a brawler who could deal a lot of damage in a very short time, and on top of that, he could heal himself. The perfect formula to make this brawler unbearable for a long time. Although, like I said, he only got one nerf, and then, well, I mean, he just stayed like that. It's weird, honestly. And while we've talked about many brawlers that were popular for a long time, or that are still popular today, the next brawler, the truth is, you're not going to expect it. Because the next brawler on this list is Eevee. I mean, come on, nowadays in 2025, who the hell plays Eevee? Seriously, nobody plays Eevee, my god! But when it was released, this brawler had quite a few strong qualities, like a lot of damage and a great range that could hit you from Narnia, of course. But this brawler was totally broken because of its second star power, which was pretty annoying and also unfair, all thanks to its second star power. With the third egg, every time it hit you with a basic attack, it could summon a flea. And this happened every time. I mean, with every basic attack, it summoned. One after another, after another, after another, after another, after another. And on top of that, for a long time, Eevee was the only brawler who could float over water. And, of course, let me tell you that when this brawler came out, maps with water were predominant. Even in Brawl, Eevee became one of the most broken brawlers in the history of Brawl Stars. That's why it took a total of 5 consecutive nerfs to finally make this brawler a little more acceptable. But if you were surprised by these brawlers, let me tell you that with the next one, you're going to be blown away. Yes, our next brawler is Buster, one of the most broken brawlers in the history of Brawl Stars. He had a ton of health, a ton of damage, just with his basic attack. And let me tell you that thanks to his first gadget, he could heal a decent 1,000 health points. And this increased by 1,000 points for each ally nearby. So he could heal 3,000 points with a single gadget. But if we're gonna talk about immortality, we also have to talk about his super, since it lasted a full 6 damn seconds. After this brawler was released, there were a total of 10 consecutive nerfs to make sure he wasn't overpowered. In all of these nerfs, they ended up changing his health, his damage, everything that made this brawler good. What can I say? Buster was actually really overpowered. But if we're going to talk about broken cases, we also have to mention another very popular one. This brawler is Chester, and we all know the chaos that happened after he was released, because this brawler had insane damage. Seriously? Each one of his bells did 1,080 damage, so by combining his third and second basic attacks, you could deal 5,000 damage, which kills about half of the brawlers. And if you combined it with his first star power from that time, oh my god, he would deal 4,300 damage in a single hit. I mean, this brawler was totally broken. But let me tell you, it wasn't just the brawler's damage that made him so overpowered. He also had a totally unfair ultimate, since the Jawbreaker would break the game, to put it redundantly. Well, today, it's a stun that does 400 points of damage. Yeah, but back then it did 2,100 points of damage. It did 5 times the damage it does today. Can you believe that? Which, combined with the other ultimates, meant that Chester would insta-kill you no matter what. So, he got a total of 5 nerfs in a single update. Yeah, but what about Chester? It seems like the brawler's damage is outrageous. Let me tell you, we're about to talk about an absolutely impossible amount of damage, because we're gonna talk about Hank, a brawler that came to break the game with all his damage. And yes, this brawler is a tank in every sense of the word. A lot of damage, a lot of health, and of course, he had a passive ability to heal himself while charging his attack. This meant you could always attack without any problems, and didn't have to balance health and attack so much. But what really broke the game with the release of this brawler was none other than the bugs. Yes, this is a very peculiar case, since the bugs with this brawler were due to the fact that it could give you an ally, some kind of damage power up, maybe an 8-bit, but the damage would scale up a lot. Seriously, you could do more than 6,750 points of damage with a single basic attack. So let me tell you, there were a total of 7 nasty nerfs in a row, besides fixing all the bugs they had with this brawler. Because if they hadn't, Hank definitely would have been the most broken brawler in all of Brawl Stars. Of course, damage isn't always what makes a brawler broken. There are some other brawlers who, because of different abilities, are extremely overpowered. Our next brawler in this video is Cordelius. Playing against the Cordelius felt just like this. And that's because...
Subscribe! Thank you for watching the video. There were quite a few qualities that had to be removed. Subscribe now and give it a like, star.
Thanks. Charge your super and watch the video. His super, which made it an endless cycle of super after super after super, subscribe. And it's not just that he could charge it, but he could use it again, meaning you could never escape the Shadow Realm ever again. This gave Cordelius quite an advantage. Of course, he could also use gadgets inside his super. Obviously, inside the super, he did way more damage, obviously. Give it a like, more speed inside the super. And well, Cordelius' super was a real pain for a long time. And even more with this strategy in survival mode where you could go into the super with someone and spend the whole match there. I mean, nothing would happen. There were a total of 8 nerfs in a row, so this brawler could be balanced and not be a complete joke. And our next brawler we're going to talk about, thanks to annoying supers. Well, the next brawler is Charlie. This brawler was definitely the biggest disaster that ever happened to the history of Brawl Stars. And in my opinion, Charlie was one of the most broken brawlers in the game's existence. Because when you played against the Charlie, you didn't like it. No chance at all, thanks to his super. As we all know, Charlie's super only does one thing. It immobilizes you. Sure, but this super used to charge much faster. His super lasted a long time. It lasted 10 whole seconds, so you had to watch this video. All Charlie does is immobilize you. Sure, but this super used to charge much faster. He could charge another super without any problem. His super did a lot of damage with his power stat taking away 50% of your health. Other aspects like the spiders from his super and his hypercharge had much more health. What is now 800 health points used to be 2,000 subscribe and hit. It was so broken that it was banned 100% of the time in the World Championship. Thanks for watching this brawler. A total of 15 nerfs came in a row. 15 you were done for. I mean, It was subscribe, and our next brawler in this video is another one of those popular cases. So let's talk about Iglauri, a brawler that we all know what Supercell thought of him back then.
And I asked Adrian, who is the one in charge of balance changes, when can we expect an emergency nerf for Larry and Lowry? And Adrian told me, there's no emergency at the moment.
Yeah. Well, this brawler had all the strong features a brawler can have. He could deal over 3,000 damage in a single hit. Just imagine how insanely broken he was. Oh, you could also charge his ultimate every 3 seconds. And let me tell you, something that really made this worse were the star powers that ruined the experience of playing against Larry and Lowry. Because thanks to the first star power, you were totally immortal. No matter how much damage you took, Lowry would take all the damage. And thanks to the second star power, the recharge rate of the basic attacks was incredibly high. I mean, there was never a moment in the match when you didn't have basic attack. And there were a total of 11 consecutive nerfs to make this brawler, well, balanced. But let me tell you that the most broken brawlers in the history of Brawl Stars don't always break the game. Because our next brawler in the ranking is Clancy. Well, Clancy is a pretty strange brawler because the mechanic of being able to level up was what made this brawler broken. Because yes, at level 1 he doesn't do a lot of damage. It's very insufficient. This brawler is usable. But at level 3, he destroys you. And let me tell you that this brawler has been so broken, thanks to his levels, that he received a total of 14 consecutive nerfs. And this case is very curious because, like I said, people haven't really appreciated him. But Clancy is a pretty broken brawler. Interesting, don't you think? But anyway, another recent brawler that broke Brawl Stars is Mo. This little troublemaker, well, how can I even describe her to you? This brawler also combined having strong basic attacks with a pretty powerful ultimate, making her one of the most broken brawlers in the history of the game. Since she did a ton of damage with her basic attacks, if you managed to bounce them well. She could deal around 4,000 points of damage, which is just crazy. Just a little bit of damage. Honestly, totally balanced damage. Plus, her super also did a lot of damage when it passed by you. Of course, there were a total of 11 consecutive nerfs. This made this brawler become one of the most broken in the entire history of Brawl Stars. But if we're going to talk about major nerfs to brawlers, we have to talk about Genji. Genji has been one of the most broken and unfair brawlers in the history of Brawl Stars. First of all, Genji has a really good set of moves and gameplay. Whether it's because of the damage from his basic attack, but let me tell you that when this brawler was first released, his basic attacks charged up much faster. This made it much quicker to move with him, and he had some really good qualities. Telano, thanks to his second gadget, the healing was 75% of all the damage you took. Also, his second star power negated 95 damage. I mean, it blocked one attack every 5 seconds. And charging up your super with this brawler was pretty easy, especially in 5 versus 5 game modes. Charged every 3 basic attacks, so it took a total of 7 consecutive nerfs for this brawler to become balanced. Let's move on to one of the most recent brawlers in this top list. And the thing is, Supercell still hasn't learned from their mistakes, bringing Lumi as one of the most broken brawlers in the history of Brawl Stars. I mean, we could consider this brawler almost perfect, because it's impossible to play against her, even after the nerfs. She makes it impossible to play against her, because her basic attacks cover so much area, which can be infinite since you can keep moving back and forth. Either way, she'll still hit you with her basic attacks. Early on, this was even worse. Lumi's health let her attack you for a long time without trouble. So thanks to her zoning, her damage, and her health, there were a total of 10 nerfs, consecutive nerfs for this brawler. But of course, if we're gonna talk about broken brawlers, the most recent one is Menace. With all the examples I've listed, you probably get why Mina is such a broken brawler. Which broken brawler did I miss in this video? Let me know in the comments. If you're interested in Brawl Stars history and some curious cases, here are the best mythic skins for each brawler. And of course, how to get a skin for each brawler in Brawl Stars. See you next time.